Construction on the Francis Scott Key Bridge, better known as the Key Bridge in Baltimore, began in 1972. It was named after Francis Scott Key, and within about 100 yards of where Francis Scott Key, aboard a ship, watched the bombardment of Fort McHenry during the Battle of Baltimore during the War of 1812. Key wrote a poem called Defense of Fort McHenry, which would become the lyrics of the American national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. About a decade before construction began on the Key Bridge, the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel already had more traffic than it could handle. Delays and congestion were a daily part of life for those using the tunnel, which was the only existing passageway across the harbor. The predecessor to the Maryland Transportation Authority, which was the State Roads Commission, began considering the construction of another tunnel, further south from the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel. When they opened bids for the project from contractors, the price tag was much bigger than expected. But a bridge would be cheaper to build and cheaper to maintain, so a bridge it was. The Key Bridge opened to traffic on March 23, 1977, and was the final segment of I-695, the Baltimore Beltway. As a Baltimorean, I've definitely crossed the Key Bridge, but I was just a toddler when it opened, and my memory doesn't go back quite that far. I doubt I was a passenger in any of the 7,448 vehicles that crossed in the first 11 hours that it was open. The 4-lane bridge spanned 1.6 miles and rose 185 feet above the Fort McHenry Channel. It was a well-known part of the city, a landmark with instant visual recognition, and, for those crossing the bridge, the view was much better than what the tunnels offered. By 2024, 30,000 or more vehicles crossed the bridge every single day. Among those vehicles were many cargo trucks, moving all sorts of cargo. Hazardous materials are prohibited in the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel and the Fort McHenry Tunnel, the alternatives for getting from one side of the Patapsco River to the other. Without the Key Bridge, trucks hauling hazmat need to take a 25 to 30-mile detour around Baltimore. In the wee hours of the morning on March 26, 2024, a cargo ship, the Dolly, named after artist Salvador Dali, started its journey from the Baltimore Harbor to a port in Sri Lanka. While still in the harbor, the Dolly lost power several times and also lost propulsion, severely limiting the ability to steer the ship. Video of the incident shows the ship's lights coming back on after a power failure, but those lights were powered by a backup generator which did not provide power to the ship's engines. Recognizing the potential danger, the ship's pilot ordered rudder hard to port and ordered the port anchor dropped, along with calling a mayday. The Maryland Transportation Authority dispatch alerted police who moved in to block traffic from entering the bridge.
I need one of you guys on the south side, one of you guys on the north side, hold all traffic on the Key Bridge. There's a ship approaching that just lost their steering. So until you get that under control, we gotta stop all traffic.
About a minute and a half later, the dispatcher asked if there were construction workers on the bridge.
There's a crew up there. You might want to notify whoever the foreman is, see if we can get them off the bridge temporarily.
A police officer that was blocking traffic from entering the bridge radioed back to dispatch that he would go onto the bridge and alert the construction workers as soon as another officer arrived to hold his position blocking entry to the bridge.
10-4, once the other unit gets here, I'll ride up on the bridge. I have all interloop traffic stopped at this time. Once you get here, I'll go grab the workers on the Key Bridge and then stop the outer loop.
29 seconds after announcing that over the radio, the bridge collapsed.
C-13 dispatch, the whole bridge just fell down. Start, whoever, everybody. The whole bridge just collapsed.
Maryland's Governor Moore reported that one of the workers ran off the bridge after being told by police to evacuate. The Dolly's crew was uninjured, despite part of the bridge landing on and lying across her bow. After the collapse, the 985-foot-long, 185-foot-wide ship, fully loaded with sea containers, remained stationary in the same position as it was immediately after the crash and collapse. 8 construction workers were on the bridge at the time of the collapse doing concrete deck repair, or, as some report, repairing potholes. One of those people, apparently uninjured, declined ambulance transport to the hospital. One was transported to R. Adams Cowley Shock Trauma and released later in the day. 6 people were unaccounted for and presumed to be in the water. Authorities say they could not rule out that other vehicles beyond those operated by the construction workers were on the bridge at the time of the collapse, but they were hopeful that the quick action of police prevented any other vehicles from being on the bridge. Throughout the day on March 26, numerous agencies including the Coast Guard, Maryland State Police, fire and rescue teams, and many others searched above and below the water using helicopters, boats, divers, sonar, and other resources in an effort to locate and rescue the missing workers among the mangled metal in the cold water of the harbor. Those 6 people remain unaccounted for as of the time of this recording. The U.S. Coast Guard and Maryland State Police Superintendent announced that based on the amount of time elapsed, the difficult conditions of changing currents, cold water, near-zero visibility, and dangerous debris underwater, search and rescue efforts were ceasing at 7:30 p.m. on March 26th. The 6 missing construction workers, presumably underwater for 18 hours, were now presumed dead. The Coast Guard and Maryland State Police would continue searching for victims at 6 a.m. on Wednesday, March 27, 2024, but this would be a recovery operation rather than a rescue effort. The missing workers are reportedly men in their 30s and 40s from El Salvador, Mexico, Honduras, and Guatemala. Among them are Miguel Luna and Maynor Suazo. Miguel is a 49-year-old married father of 6 who has called Maryland home for 19 years. His wife described the feelings of devastation and heartbrokenness as the family waited for news about her husband the day of the tragedy. Maynor Suazo is a 37-year-old father of 2, leaving behind an 18-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. The names of and details about the 4 other workers were not available as of the time of this recording. The presumed death of these 6 men is by far the most significant loss in this incident. However, the impact will reach throughout Baltimore and the nation. The harbor remains closed indefinitely, meaning no ships are going in or out. The port at Baltimore is directly responsible for about 15,000 jobs and indirectly supports about 140,000 jobs in and around Baltimore. The port handles more automobile shipments than any other in the nation, handling almost 850,000 automobiles and light trucks in 2023. Many other products and materials go through the Baltimore port. 11.7 million tons of general cargo were handled by the public terminals of the port in the fiscal year 2023. The port will remain closed at an estimated cost of $15 million per day until the recovery mission, investigations, and removal of the bridge's pieces are complete. Once the harbor reopens, it will likely be years before a new bridge is designed and built.